Let's say hi to Toby, who is in Connecticut. He joins us today on a Free for All Friday. Hey, Toby.
Great to talk with you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Quick thing, I just wanted to say, just hear me out. I know the gimmicks are something that fans sometimes pull onto. One of the best bands with a gimmick is Kiss with the makeup, and they got rid of the gimmick and they even brought it back. It was so good. But sometimes the gimmicks can shoot a band in the foot. And when you talk about bands that should have been famous that didn't, like sometimes their gimmick was just too much that the band was just doomed. And so for me, the band that I thought of when all this going down memory lane, thinking about bands that I really loved that should have been famous, they didn't, it was a group called Life, Sex, and Death from the mid-90s.
Oh, yeah. Stanley, the alleged homeless guy, yeah.
Right, and it's like, oh my God, it was like, I remember seeing them, I was in college, I remember meeting him, and it was like, oh wow, this is great, these guys are taking out this homeless guy. Meanwhile, you come to find out now years later, especially when I went down a rabbit trail, a couple of weeks ago, just looking back about it, was that, the guy was a regular guy. He was kind of like Andy Kaufman doing this character, and that it actually he was so much this homeless guy that even when it was just him in the band, he was still pooping his hand and doing all this stuff that the band was like, oh my God, we got to stop this madness.
I think not only was he not homeless, Toby, but I believe he actually was wealthy. I think he had a lot of money. He came from like a wealthy background or something, from what I heard.
He is. He was. His parents were rich. He's now this very rich investment banker that, some of these guys on some of these sites were trying to get interviews with him, and he's totally, media silent, cut himself off. But the guitarist says, yeah, I talk to him every once in a while. For those that are concerned, he's still alive, and he's doing very well.
Yeah, Alex Kane was in that band, right? Alex Kane.
Yes.
Because I saw Alex, I was walking into the Rainbow when I was in L.A. last week, and thanks, Toby, for the call. It's a good call. That's interesting. And that by the way, that could be a whole show one day. Best gimmicks that any band ever did. Well, if there's an idea, jot that down, Ed. Maybe we'll do that one day. That'd be fun. But I saw Alex Kane, who was the guitar player in that band. I ran into him literally at the Rainbow a week and a half ago. I was walking out, he was walking in. Alex plays in Stars now every once in a while, Starz, real good guy. And just had a quick hello as we were walking by each other in the Rainbow. And one time Alex gave me a ride when I was in L.A. somewhere, and we were talking, and he was telling me more of the story of that whole thing. But for those that don't remember what the caller was talking about, band, the initials LSD stood for Life, Sex, Death. The singer's name just went by the name Stanley, and it was purported that he was a homeless guy. And they found him, and he could sing, and they made him the front man of the band, and that was his shtick. And it turned out to all be like, it was all nonsense. The guy was not, and he was kind of doing a character or something. Band never really got way far, really very far in terms of popularity, but they had a moment there where everybody was talking about him, and I want to say it was probably late 80s, early 90s, if my timeline is correct. I think they even had a major label deal like Warner Brothers or something they ended up getting signed to. Yeah, but when you think of bands that are doing like gimmicks or an act, for some, it becomes sort of an albatross and they can't ever make it work and they drop it. And for others, it becomes a hugely big marketable thing that people accept. Obviously, the biggest example of that ever would be Kiss with the makeup and the costumes and the identities. And then you've got a ton of other bands that have tried to do a gimmick sort of thing, and they just can't get anybody to buy into it. They can't get it going. And then you got bands that somehow that sort of occupy like a middle ground doing that too, where they can't really progress any further because they're locked into the shtick or the act that they're doing. But they do well enough that they can't really drop the act. So it's always sort of a interesting thing to see how people navigate that when they're just not coming out and saying, hey, we're a rock band, look at us, we're going to play some good songs, when there's something else going on. All right, Ed has, of course, Some Life, Sex, Death to go into break. Of course he's found it.
I do.
Silent Majority. So we'll play that. We'll take a break.
That was the album. The song
What's the song?
Schools for Fools.
I don't remember if they had a quote-unquote hit. I certainly don't remember the title of this song, but maybe it'll come to me. My friend Tony Higbee, who plays with Tom Kiefer's band, is texting me, told me he saw the Linda Ronstadt doc. He knows how much I love music docs. He said, you got to see it. He said, it's great. I don't know how to see these things, though. I mean, sometimes the studios will send them to me or a link or something because they know I'll talk about them. But I want to see the Linda Ronstadt doc, and I also want to see the Michael Hutchins doc on the singer on In Excess, which I heard was done. And I just don't know how you see them. I mean, a lot of these great documentaries are being made, but people just don't know what to do with them or where they can air them or place them. The other thing too is I read an article in Rolling Stone yesterday about Steve Gorman, the drummer from the Black Crowes. He's written an autobiography. It's basically like the greatest wars of the Black Crowes, the greatest wars of the Robinson brothers, where he documents the years of touring and dysfunction and fighting among the brothers and his first-hand accounts to it. And what he claims a lot of is that a lot of the issue is Chris Robinson wanting more money than other guys. That if they were going to play again, he wanted like 75% and let the other guys split up 25%. I'm telling you, it always comes down to money. But then he also says that remember when the Black Crowes were playing with Page and Plant? Just Jimmy Page.
Great
Black
tour.
Crowes with Jimmy Page. But apparently, I didn't know this because I don't remember it specifically, but apparently that tour ended after like 11 years, or after 11 shows, that it was like a 11-show deal and then it ended. I have the live record of it. But apparently, according to Gorman, he says that Chris Robinson offended Jimmy Page because Jimmy Page said something to him like, well, we should write together or something. He's like, I don't want to write with you. I don't need to write with you.
Really?
Write my own songs.
Because the line that was always given was that Page developed back problems and had to bow out of the tour.
Right, which according to him was all bullshit, that Page was offended or insulted because obviously, the ego he must have and how thin-skinned he's Jimmy Page, that there was that Chris Robinson I'm Rich Robinson sort of blew him off at one point, and then it's like he took his guitar and went home. I gotta see if I can find the link on Rolling Stone. I'll try to I know I don't want to get off the rails here because we're doing free for all, but there's so much to talk about every day. Monday's another day. Maybe we'll dig into it then. But it was the book. I don't know if the book's come out, but there was a story that I found on Twitter that originated on Rolling Stone reviewing and talking about the book, and it said the 7 highlights from Steve Gorman's book,
Eddie,
of the biggest fights.
So the book is out now. It's titled Hard to Handle, The Life and Death of the Black Crowes.
There you go. All right, I gotta look for that as well.